Well, the question everybody's asking is what's happening in the real estate market? And it is a good question. And there is no one definite answer. But let's see what we can unpack and understand around the broad issues that impact on it. Markets go through cycles, quite generally, which may or may not be related to economic conditions. There are always background economic conditions such as interest rates, inflationary changes, and other growth indicators which can have a bearing on property sales, property transactions, rentals, and prices that are achieved. However, as you would realise, there's a whole range of other impacting factors that make it difficult to determine across the board trends. Yet, what we constantly see in the media is this is the definitive approach, this is the definitive answer, and they've summarised that trend into one headline. Well, we're in an information-rich world. There's an abundance of data available, and trends need to be assessed and reported on more accurately. And they can be than we did in the past. So one of the biggest issues in all of this is that the data we're presented with is historical. Sometimes it's more recent than others, but ultimately it relies on comparisons across all property types and all situations from a period of time that's past. It does not allow for variables in size, condition, features, presentation. All the factors that we practitioners know go into a long way impacting on sale price. A suburb can have a sudden spike in value or a sudden drop in value, which is a perception based on what has been the predominant price range or stock sold in the previous 1 to 3 months. So a lot of the data and a lot of the reporting that we're seeing is trending data, and it's not actually what might be happening on one particular property. Of course, interesting data gets attention, and media outlets thrive on getting attention. So when the market seems to be spiking or dipping in this way, it's very newsworthy. And you'll see the headlines, but it can misconstrue what's actually happening. So it also depends what else is happening in the rest of the world. If there's nothing else that's newsworthy that week, it gets headlines. Likewise, the reverse happens. So my first recommendation in understanding the market is avoid getting your property information from the general media. It's skewed, it's not accurate, it's historical, and it depends what else is happening in the world. It's certainly not objective enough for you to rely on for your purposes. The other information, or the other aspect, is that Australia has many different regions, and often the reporting that comes out in, say, the Brisbane newspaper is based on what's happening in Sydney or Melbourne, and vice versa. So you can immediately see how flawed that information or that reporting is and how potentially dangerous that could be for you to rely on. Markets ebb and flow with the cycles, and there are changes in supply, demand, and naturally prices change. There's always either more buyers than sellers, and we call that a seller's market, or there's more sellers than buyers, and we call that a buyer's market. So historically, this is interesting, real estate agents only acted for sellers. So we're always going to be biased, saying that a seller's market is a better market as there'll be more buyers competing for your property, and it gives me, the agent, the opportunity to push that price to its maximum. But that's skewed by me being a seller's agent. In recent years, we've seen a broadening of those services in the real estate sector, and now many agents are acting as buyer's agents. So they're employed by an agent to purchase them a property. If you ask a buyer's agent about a good market, they'll have a completely different perspective to a seller's agent, and naturally a different answer. So can you see how complex this is? How's the market? There isn't an answer to that question. You can imagine how many times I've been asked in my nearly 40 years in real estate, Rose, how's the market? Those who've asked me that question will know that my standard response then is, who's asking? Are you asking as a buyer? Are you asking as a seller, an investor, an owner-occupier, a developer, a landlord, a tenant? It's not that the information I give you will be necessarily different, but how it's interpreted and how I will present it to you will depend on your individual needs, wants, and expectations within the context of the particular market or area and property type that you are considering. There are just too many variables to give one definitive answer about something as complex and fluctuating as the real estate market. Make sure you tread the path that has meaning for you and seek answers relative to your situation. So, love to hear from you and help you out or put you on the right path.